Thank you for attending. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Carl is excused, correct?
Yes, Commissioner Carl, I will state, is ill and in the hospital, and he will need our prayers.
Commissioner Walters, Commissioner Reed,
Here.
Commissioner Whittington,
Here.
Commissioner Burgo,
Here.
Are there any corrections or additions to the agenda or the consent agenda? And I will add that the Municipal Risk Authority statements are right here at the corner, if somebody wants to review those. I'd entertain a motion.
Support.
Move to second, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Somehow, reading of the cash balances.
I'll wake up here.
Sorry.
General fund, 43,612, 84. Unallocated tax revolving, 5,887.16, for a total of 49,500.
Thank you. Are there any public comments this morning? Tom?
And just a couple of things for you. My name is Tom Dunn. I was at a zoning and planning commission meeting last week, and if I might, I've got some documents I'd like to hand out. I think these were also, this was also given to the zoning folks. Just a little more education and information on zoning and private property jurisdiction for your review. A couple of court cases that I think that are quite important to read and go through, and an Attorney General opinion under Klaus Edenowski. If you have any questions on these, feel free to send me an email or get in touch with me, and I'd be more than happy to go over those particular cases. And also, I have a resolution that I would like you to look at and review and get your comments back on. It's the resolution to protect citizens' property rights under Agenda 21. If I may hand these out, Josh?
Sure.
The legislature is also looking into resolutions very similar to keep Agenda 21 from being processed through the state. And if it wouldn't be a problem, I'd certainly like to get some feedback.
Hello. No, go ahead.
Okay. So if we could get some feedback on each commissioner's stand as far as the resolution to protect property rights, that would be really appreciated to see where everybody stands. I was also...
I'm sorry, David, what is this, sir? I mean,
This is about the mud bog in particular,
Oh,
and
okay.
property rights.
Well, well, not necessarily just the mud bog, but property rights totally in general. It's a property rights issue, and Agenda 21 is where the NGOs are coming in, spending their money, and obfuscating the rights of the citizens through non-legislative activity. And it's quite appalling when you do get involved and read some of the stuff that's happening with the Agenda 21 proposals. Furthermore, when I was at the zoning board meeting, I did ask that each one of the zoning and planning board members resign. I was at that meeting. It was 10 minutes. I don't know how much it cost you folks to have that meeting, but all there was, I believe it's in your agenda, was to send a resolution over for, I believe, limited number of meetings during the year. That was it. And again, property rights go to the point that zoning is the death of property rights. And I think it could be handled here. If you want to save money here in the county, you folks are getting paid by the county. It could be handled here for no more than what they're doing over there. That's my comments, and again, if you have any questions on these, I would certainly entertain any questions and try to answer those for you, because I think they're very, very important to what's happening in our world today, and especially in Platte County. Thank you very much.
I don't know, in all fairness, that we can move on any of this today, but it's good information that we need to review, and we will review and comment on in the future. In particular, property rights, I think, are important to all of us, and they're certainly important to me. Our one particular case with the mud bog, I would do anything to try to, and you guys know that I've sat down with you, and we've tried to, go a couple different avenues. We've taken some options. So we are, and I am continuously looking into that. Us board have talked a little about it, although the way we're currently structured with the Planning and Zoning Commission, that's really to try to keep politics out of what we do in everyday life. It's not an elected official that's a Democrat or a Republican. It's a board of public people. If that's not working, that's something that we can review. But honestly, I don't know that we've had issues with that current structure up until now. But certainly worth looking at and evaluating as we move forward. Fair enough?
Good. Thank you very much.
And I apologize for the interruption, Tom.
Important county
I
business.
had an issue in my office, so I do apologize.
Oh, that's not a problem.
Is there anything else from the board here? Anything from the public, under public comments? Moving forward. Under communications, I got several things here, and one thing, Secret Township NFIP application, that's the National Flood Insurance Program. I had to sign that, and I just wanted you guys to know, and I emailed that out to you. I'm a little uncomfortable doing that without your notice, but it was just a signatory thing that we need to do. I covered the municipal risk and all that other stuff. Carol Brubaker, a little early, but you're right.
Yes, I know.
You've got your paperwork here.
I have a contract from the state that's twofold. It's for a tractor and for a garage floor that needs approval with the resolution of the 10th. The tractor that we're applying for is going to, keep the grounds clear in the summer, and it's also going to be used for snow removal and anything like that. And the old tractor has already been depreciated, so it's just kind of replacing it.
Is the massive grant in there,
Pardon?
or is it full grant? or massive?
Yes, full grant.
And that's the contract portion of this.
Yes.
We have,
What's the full grant?
we have a second. I'll second it. It's been moved and favored. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, thank you.
And that's, does that be done in the form of a resolution, actually.
Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do it that way. I apologize.
Commissioner Carl's excused, Commissioner Walters, Commissioner Reed,
Yes.
Commissioner Bennington,
Yes.
Commissioner Burgo.
Yes.
And while she does that, Karen Blondie, Housing Commissioner, how are you?
I'm back again. I'm here in regards to the county homeowner single-family rehab grant. We are applying for a renewal of that grant, as I explained at the last meeting. What I'm here for today is for a few documents. One of them is to have the resolution signed to apply for the grant. I emailed that to Commissioner Reed, and I think he forwarded that to anyone. Does anyone have any questions about that grant?
What is the official title of that county homeowner?
County homeowner single-family rehab grant.
Thank you.
And they are actually dating it, they're still calling it, Michigan is still calling it a 2012 grant, even though we're in 2013. We should be able to have release of funds sometime yet this year. So we would actually be able, if we have qualified applicants, to start using it in 2013.
Are there any, and we had to return some money
We did.
last
And
year.
the problem with that is, when you do a project, all of those, projects have a mortgage attached to it, and it is something that has to be paid back. Their income is what establishes how you pay that back. So the money that they use to either pay off a loan or make their monthly payments goes into what is called program income. The way Michigan has it set up, if you have a grant and you have a program income system as well, you can have no more than $5,000 in that program income before you can go, anything that's over that $5,000, I guess I should say, you have to have spent down before you can go back and use your grant. So with this last grant period, we had over 120-some thousand in payoffs and payments. Carol does those records for me so she can verify that. And with that, it made it very difficult for us to keep going back to our grant. Michigan gave us one extension back in December, but they will not give us a second extension. They said, we'll just seize those dollars, put them back into the general fund, and just give you a new grant. So,
This is for needs that they need to have for house?
yes, it is to rehab their home.
Walkway or?
Anything like that. We can do emergency funds, which would be like a well, a drain field, a ramp, something like that. But we can also go in and we can rehab from the roof to the furnace, foundation, flooring, windows. I do partner and try to partner as much as possible. Mid-Michigan Community Action Agency is a great partner because they have the weatherization program. And that's another thing, Michigan requires you to do matching dollars. So when I'm out there getting matching dollars, that's less of the grant that's being spent as well. I'm fulfilling that requirement, but I'm not fulfilling the requirement of getting the grant spent on as quickly. So it's a little bit of a juggling act, I will say. And our community was hit pretty hard, as we all know. So finding qualified applicants is a bit difficult as well because they have to have their property taxes paid up to date. They have to keep, if they have a first mortgage, they have to keep that paid up. They have to have homeowners insurance. Well, many of the people that we're dealing with, they're in such a strife that they can't afford those type of things. So then I have to try and send them on to other agencies, like our local churches and missions, Big Boys Club, Eagles, those kind of organizations to see if they can help them with maybe getting their property taxes paid up to date or getting homeowners insurance. And because there are no grants to help with that sort of stuff. And in our program guidelines, it says that we cannot utilize these funds to help with that kind of stuff. So it makes that a challenge as well. So I'm always pulling from various resources and loving to have information of other resources because of course I want to help these people and get this grant fulfilled. So I have to go a few steps prior before I can even qualify them. That makes it a bit of a challenge sometimes too. But I love a challenge.
Well, Well, what I've noticed, and I mentioned this a couple of meetings ago with the program, is that, many times I see where a spouse has lost a spouse, and then it's hard for them to keep up on the house when their furnace fails, or their windows are leaking, or their roof starts leaking, or whatever. And I've seen that many times, and it seems to be a pretty decent program, and it also pays itself back, so when we return funds, that's a good thing. That
It
means
does.
that, the program's making interest money and people are able to pay it, so it's not such a burden on the federal government.
How much do we grant for?
The total grant is $175,000.
So what do we need a motion for?
It's the resolution, we'll have two resolutions here today because.
I will so move.
It's been moved and supported, Madam Clerk, would you please spell out?
Commissioner Walters, Commissioner Reed,
Yes.
Commissioner Whittington,
Yes.
Commissioner Burgo,
Yes.
and Commissioner Carlsberg.
We have a second resolution.
The second one is because they already accepted it, oddly enough, so we applied for it and we didn't have this quite done yet.
I had the minutes of approval, and when I contacted them and told them I have minutes of approval, I can now move on with the grant, she said, okay, wonderful, I need it today. I'm like, you need it today? I haven't done the public hearing, I don't have the signed resolution, and she says, we can accept all of that after the fact. So luckily enough, they got my grant, I had to submit it, and I wasn't worried about that because you guys already gave me approval to do that. And Monday I get in the office and I have this big thick packet, and it actually has the grant there that's been approved.
Well,
So
we're trying to find that, Karen, and I know you gave it to me, so.
I gave you, it's quite thick, Josh, there's two of them, that's it.
So there's this one and then.
And they're the same thing, one goes to Mission, one goes into the file.
I see,
So you need to sign the top document, which is the authorization signature,
I got you.
and then the second one is the grant itself. So the first one designates you as the board chair as the authorized signer.
So is that that's
That's
not
not
a
a
resolution?
resolution.
It's just a motion to allow him to sign it? Okay.
And neither one of them need to be a resolution, then?
Nope,
Okay.
This one has to be a
that,
resolution.
just that one
is-
thing has to be resolution.
I move the way the chair signed
The chair might need help figuring out where to make all these signatures, but it's been moved as we support. It's been moved and supported, all in favor, say aye.
it.
Opposed? Motion passes. So just print here and then sign here.
I typed your name, so just sign above your name. And then I have two other documents that I brought with me. Part of the application process, even though they've given me the application, now we have to do an environmental review. And that environmental review has a two-step comment period, giving the community, one, it makes them aware that we have this grant, but then it also makes them aware that they can come forward if they have any questions about the process. And once we complete that environmental review and go through the whole time frame that they allow, that then is what they determine on our release of funds date. And that's why I said it should be at sometime this fall that the funds would be released. So with that process, sorry Josh, there'll be more signatures, we need to have a certifying officer of the environmental review. And even though as third-party administrator, I do that work for you, I cannot certify or be, the one that supposedly monitors that. So Josh, being the designated officer, has to assign someone on the board as the certifying officer of the environmental review. So Terry, as being vice chair, is who we put into that position as long as the board would of course approve. So I need a motion for that, so that we can do the environmental review.
So moved.
It's been moved and supported, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? Good luck with that, Walters.
I'll keep you straight, it's not a problem.
We got good help.
And then the last one, of course, is the third-party administration management plan, and it basically spells out everybody's duties as third-party management, so I need to have that one signed as well.
Do you have an idea of the date possibly projected that might be released?
Let's see, we're in the middle of August, I have to get it in the paper, and usually I use the buyer's guide because it is more cost effective.
October 1st.
I would guess October 1st would be reasonable. It's 30 days, so if I have it in by the 1st of September, we go through the comment period, so it should be October 1st. That's a large ad and it has to be posted. And
How many times have we actually had to do the environmental study and all that stuff?
every grant,
Every month?
every grant. I usually, for the grant itself, I use EMCOG study. They've always accepted that for this area.
Can I ask a question, what the environmental study entails? What is the environmental study?
It, for this grant's purpose, it looks at housing numbers, economic standards of what our community is in right now, our housing situation, how many are in low to below low average, area medium income is what it looks at. And that's, I mean, EMCOG study does a lot, but that's the main things that MISTA looks at for this grant.
So we're talking about population, environment.
Income,
Ethnicity.
population, housing, quality, standards.
Which is how they base some of what they're awarding us each year, but then again, that award may be up or down, and or we may pay some of it back, so it's just a vicious cycle every year, but at this point, that's our best option, I think. Anything else for Karen?
Are we good on the
Think
third
you have
party
all your
yet?
signatures. We appreciate your help.
Thank you for your
We
time.
certainly won't have the time to do what you're doing. It really for Bob Evans, so we're gonna run to committee reports. Bob will be here with a deficit elimination plan that needs our approval, hopefully. So, Commissioner Walters.
County meetings, city meeting on the 5th, and Karen got a downtown development grant for the city, which helps the city pay the municipal mileage. Also, put in the calendar, I think there's a couple out there, but August 24th, Gladys City Public, they're having household hazardous materials being downtown at the Public Works. If you got anything you want to get rid of, tires, paint, you name it, they're going to take it. So, good project, and you got TVs and computers and stuff you want to get rid of, place to do it. They're throwing them in the ditch like they used to. That's all I have on that. Any questions on that at all, or? Veterans, we've lost in the last couple of months. Charles Smith, City of Beaverton. Larry Slavic, City of Beaverton. Wallace Colbert, Colliver, City of Gladwin. And then also Don Taylor, World War II vet, from Sherman Township, and he's being buried in Arlington Cemetery.
I saw that.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Walters. Commissioner Bertle.
I've attended the, of course, Grout and the Beaverton Township meetings. The Grout people are happier than which, Boom Factory. The Beaverton people want me to officially request that the board support whatever action is necessary to on the Amish buggies, slow-moving vehicles have been lots of complaints and problems from their residents. And I appreciate this is a First Amendment type right, but the safety issue is important. And I told him I would bring it up. Is there any action that we could take other than officially supporting their efforts?
I absolutely agree with their concern, and the sheriff and I were gonna try to address that with some of the Amish communities, some of their, what would you call it, what's the best pictures?
Bishop.
Bishop. So we will do that and then we'll report back. That's probably the best approach, but we appreciate their concern.
We tried that years ago, went through the court system, Judge Ringelberg was the judge at the time, and really didn't go.
A few days ago, we had a dog problem in Brown Township, and I want to commend the Jim Mabel for a professional and very efficient and rapid response to solving the problem. Thank you, James. Good job. And he done good. So, and on the Central Michigan District Health Department, Dennis and I met with Neil Hammerbacher and Mary Cushion, and we're down to where the rubber meets the road on that one. You have copies of the options that Mary presented to us. And, it's this one in case you're county appropriations options. Got it?
We do.
Okay. It's at the point that we owe them they actually owe them $136,000 right now. And they haven't paid the rent since July. And so when you objectively evaluate the options that we've got, obviously us running the health department locally and being taken out of the Central Michigan District is we automatically lose the $80,000 in rent that we, because since we own the building. And in as much as we don't have the cash available to pay them $136,000, we're down to where we need to make an agreement with Mary, and I have a meeting there tomorrow, so I committed that I would give her the commission's response tomorrow as to what our plan would be. So
I would move that, go opinion number 2, or option number 2.
option 2.
Right, and I'll comment on that. There was 5 options here, and 1 increasing their appropriations, and then 2 by 3%, by the way. And 2 would be holding the appropriation level and doing a surcharge on permits, so people that would be getting a well or septic permit would be surcharged $8.50. And then it just goes on with some other options, but that's the most feasible and economical for us. And that way, in my mind, you know, our appropriations aren't going up, which the community as a whole pay into those appropriations. The people that need the well and septic permits would be a part of that. And moving forward, you know, what we do, you know, is something, but
This is the way Isabel County currently is operating. And so, in other words, we're not the only one in this sort of situation. So option 2, need to vote, I think.
we have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Kelly?
Sir, for what purpose do we owe the health department $136,000?
Our appropriations, we haven't paid them today. We told them we'd pay them by October 1st. Did you have anything else, Dan?
And I think that pretty much covers the most important things.
Is it appropriate for me to ask a question here?
Sure.
If they pay you $80,000 rent, would it not be an assumption that they make enough to pay that rent, so that if you took over that, you would make enough to also offset that $80,000 that you would lose?
Not really.
So how did they get the $80,000?
I get what you're saying, but we're a district, so there's multiple counties paying into them to do what they need to do, and there's some statutory legalities there that I'm not 100% familiar with, but that was the purpose of their meeting. We could be kicked out of it, but the problem is if we're kicked out of it, then we have to run that whole program ourselves. When they talk about, you know, we're out to 80 if they're not in, if we're not in with this district, we're out to 80, I would guess we could probably re-rent that building. I don't know how much we'd rent it for, but then we would still have to have some type of health department. So, at this point, you know, keeping our appropriations level, surcharging the remainder, seems to be our best option until something else different happens. But certainly, I promise you that, and I don't even, is 136 our totally year appropriation? No. We just couldn't do it ourselves for that kind of money currently. So, something for us to look at, but certainly I'm not comfortable increasing appropriations for anybody right now. So that's where we're at.
If you're not comfortable increasing appropriations for anybody, then why did you just vote to raise taxes on wells and septics?
Because if you're building a house, in my mind, if you're building a house, you must have the money. You know, if you're doing a drain field, hopefully you have the money. And if you don't have the money, you're borrowing the money, so what's another $850? And should that be spread to everybody in the county? You know, I just don't think we should when, and that's just my personal opinion, I'm speaking for myself, not this board, I just don't think we should be increasing our appropriations when, you know, we're borrowing from Peter to pay Paul pretty religiously, so. You know,
I certainly agree with that.
I don't know what our other options would be at this point. Any other questions? What else? Where were we at? On the list back. Was that it for you, Don?
Yes, that was it.
Kathy Mills, you're here for Bob, I'm assuming. Okay. You're up. Did Neil review this plan?
No.
By chance?
I thought he was gonna be here today. Preliminary to this is.
Right, okay, we can just vote on it. Okay.
Tax.
This is a revised assessment.
So that's our proposal for the next 5-year elimination plan.
Yeah, absolutely.
And given some background to this, the drain fund, and I'm not gonna beat up on the drain commissioner, especially since he's not here, but technically it ran in the deficient side. So at the end of the day, we didn't have enough money to pay everybody and everything else. He's been borrowing some money from some private individuals or something. But nevertheless, that was in the deficient side for the state of Michigan, for part of our EVIP, 25% of our EVIP. We needed a deficit elimination plan, so Kathy has worked pretty close with Neil, and I understand that Neil worked with Bob sometime last week to get this done. Hopefully this is in timely enough manner that it don't affect our EVIP. I do know that Neil signed off on part of this, and I don't know about this last. This is the document that, if I recall, I think it was just your future plans that Neil was uncomfortable with.
Yes.
Okay. So,
The last spreadsheets are what are actually assessed in effect, and then what's going to be assessed this year.
So are these assessments, have they already been turned into the treasurer for
No.
the tax bills?
Not for 2013. 2012 have, yes.
Okay, but,
I can't until I have my day of review, which is the end of this month.
Okay, so
She's
they will
not-
be turned in time to be put on the December.
By the end of September is when they're due to her.
If this plan has already been put into effect, as it states here, what do we need to do then? I mean,
Technically, we just need to approve that this deficit elimination plan through 2013, we agree with his numbers and what he's got on here.
We agree for appropriation of that.
But we, you know, whatever we do, I believe the motion should read that we approve of this for the record pending Neil's final approval. That way Neil can sign off on this, and if Neil don't, then we'll just have to wait. But I think it's pretty important that Neil sign off on this at this point.
I think you need to be date certain, because the treasurer, presenting in conversation with me, we're supposed to have all deficit eliminations put into the state within 30 days from the certification of the audit. Certification of the audit was June 28th. So we're already past our 30 days. So this isn't something that we just want to sit on additionally. If he agrees with it, then it needs to be signed and it needs to be sent immediately.
Yeah, I agree. Do you have this digital? Do you have the digital version of this?
We lose out on our incentive fees for every day that this is submitted.
I will,
Yeah, Christie had brought that to everyone's attention, that you are risking losing 25% of other income because this deficit elimination plan has not been accepted and sent to the state of Michigan. You've already passed the deadline.
And you're 3 weeks in on the 25% reduction of your state incentive monies.
And the state does not have to come and tell you to do it. They will
Right.
just take it.
I understand and I appreciate Christie's heads up, and we've, done what we can do. Yes, enough said. I did forward every correspondence I got from Christie and Neil to everybody, so you guys were aware of where we're at, but I would entertain a motion to accept this, and I believe just Neil's signature and mine if needed somewhere, just so we're all covered pending Neil's final approval.
I'll make that motion.
It's been moved and supported. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion passes. I will scan this and get this to Neil as soon as this meeting's over before I go back to my other job. So he has it, so. Thank you, Kathy. Any other questions for Kathy? Okay. Very good. Commissioner Whittington, I believe we're to you.
thank you. I attended the Billings and Milton Township meetings last night and made them aware of the impending millage and met with they had a number of questions. That I really couldn't judge it, it was kind of mixed, But mostly it was just, they were wondering, what the money was going to be used for. But anyway, I put it out there and told them there would be follow-up visitors. Then I've attended a couple finance meetings with Josh, so.
Couple?
I-
Just a couple?
That's what we make the big bucks for. I'll move on to the finance matters. And the first one is, the committee is making the recommendation to allow the prosecutor to fill the vacant full-time position in his office and possibly the part-time position by internal hiring only. A motion is needed to allow the hiring process and allow the prosecutor to post for the vacant positions for union contract. And I would so move.
Supports.
It's been moved and supported. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Number two, Deputy Eric Coney has requested payout of 30 PTO hours per his union contract. Total cost of $625.50 to be paid from 101-301-705-000 and upon approval, and I would make that motion.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Number three, the core talent contract for lien services is up for renewal. Total cost of $2,400 to come from line 101-258-815-006 upon approval. And I'll move on to that.
It's been moved and supported. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Item number four, a resolution has been drafted for the change in the meeting dates for the planning commission. A motion is needed to approve the change of meeting dates as outlined in the resolution. And I would make that motion.
It's been moved and supported. All in favor, say aye.
Resolution.
Oh, shoot, that's right, I'm sorry. Good catch, clerk.
Item five.
One second, we gotta do that by resolution.
Oh. I'll let you read it.
I forgot myself.
Commissioner Reed,
Yes.
Commissioner Whittington,
Yes.
Commissioner Virgo,
Yes.
Commissioner Walters.
Item five, Gina Conrad has requested that her part-time seasonal team begin work on the fall count. The motion is needed to allow for the hiring of a new staff member and to begin working hours until the fall count is complete. And I would make that motion. And this is something that happens each year at this time.
It's been moved and supported. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'll just make, the motion passes. I'll make one comment that this new staff member will be under, it'll be under what the current cost was for last year, so less money. Okay.
Number six, a motion is needed to allow the sheriff to cancel the contract with Maxor for jail pharmacy services and enter into the contract for concerned corrections. And I would make that motion.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Just one question here. That should be sufficient, the way this is worded. We need, just to clarify, we're 99.9% sure we can get out of that contract with the equipment and everything else that's there, but we might need Jacobson's help with some of the equipment stuff. But yeah,
Their
that,
reference.
so it's been moved and supported. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Number seven, Bob Evans, drain commissioner, has submitted the county assessment totals on 5 drains in the amount of $2,248.95. This bill will be paid to the county treasurer by the end of the year.
I need that motion to include the amendment just handed to me. And I don't completely understand it, so I don't know if this is in addition to or not, so. It says an assessment amount of $1,494.13. So I don't know if that's in addition to this or if it's,
Incorporated into 2200.
Well, what if, maybe we should wait.
Lay it on the table.
Okay, that's assessments, and this is assessments for drains at large, so they could be. This is just notice of date of review. And that's only on one drain.
but I don't know if that's in addition to the
No.
2200. All right, so your motion's good, and I'll pass this on to the clerk. Is there support?
Support. On the
Don, did you support?
Yeah, I do.
It's been moved and supported, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Number 8, MMRMA litigation has notified the county that they have a case, Ribbon versus County, that can be closed and destroyed. A motion is needed to allow the chairman to provide authorization to MMRMA for the destruction of the file, and I will so move.
Support.
It's been moved and supported, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Last, number 9, attached you will find a copy of the deficit elimination plan for Fund 851, Payne Creek Drain. A motion is needed to approve the plan and allow for submission to the State Local Audit and Finance Commission.
We already did.
And then,
No?
You just did 801, this is 851.
Okay.
You already approved the 851 and 851.
Terry moved, is there support?
I'll support it.
It's been moved and supported, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Additionally, we have a memo from our financial coordinator. Although this wording, maybe we don't all like, but the memo, I'll do the memo and then I have a few comments. Gladwin County isn't one of the poorest performing counties in the state of Michigan as measured by the Unitrix. I support a millage request to improve the financial position of Gladwin County so the county will maintain a 13% fund balance in its general fund for years to come. A successful vote will also maintain the county's current public safety efforts. An unsuccessful vote will result in layoff of as many as 10 public safety personnel to save the county's general fund at $500,000 a year. A successful vote will also be commendable in the 3 governmental units, Gladwin County, Gladwin City, City of Beaverton. We are working closely for the common good of Gladwin County. So we have met 3 or 4 times, 3 times. We've had the City of Beaverton, City of Gladwin, ourselves. More currently, we've had some public individuals sit with us. What's the best direction for Gladwin County to go? So we've talked about language, some wording, you know, we all feel that we've cut everywhere that we can cut. It's unfortunate that we've come to this point. You all know how much we've cut since 2008, and we don't know any further. But the direction that we're going, there's been multiple reasons that got us there, and we're gonna have a very detailed ballot language coming out, and detailed, you know, what we currently have and what we may have. And, you know, some of those reasons that we got there was the lack of revenue sharing for 8 years, Laura. Those numbers, you know, are in the $3 million range. Property values dropping roughly $10 million. Now, $10 million a year in property values don't necessarily mean that that's less for Gladwin County. That breaks down to a percentage of that $10 million each year we lose. But when you start looking at that and the cost of doing business, fuel prices are up, energy prices, replacing cars, different things, you know, it's just tough for us to keep up. And the discussion that we've had during our finance was even as much as our state troopers and moving around and not necessarily dedicated to Gladwin. At one point we had 8 troopers stationed in Gladwin County, and now we're down to a couple-ish, moving around to different communities, not necessarily here. And what that does is steps up the pace for our local law enforcement officers. Looking at that, the city of Beaverton was considering a $2 million for their patrol to cover the city of Beaverton, and that $2 million is relatively substantial for the residents of Beaverton City. Gladwin City was looking at, you know, some different options, so we thought it's public safety. The more we try to cover Gladwin County and work together, the better off we are. If they're able to put or keep a full-time on, if the city of Gladwin doesn't do any reductions, It's easier on our county patrol. Our county patrols stretch, and we know they are, and the sheriff can speak for himself, but nevertheless, we're to the crossroads where we need guidance. We need the public to have their opinion as to which direction you want us to go. This is public safety. This is.
How many years are we gonna still run into some financial problems as a long-term study of, you know, how this is gonna work out, been done?
As part of the memorandum that I just read, the financial coordinator is confident that this will, in fact, his words are, maintain a 13% fund balance in our general fund for years to come. So, I mean, we've done a considerable amount of research on it. I just don't want to share all those numbers because we haven't taken them back to the committee yet for final approval. But, and the numbers that I did give you are very general numbers. We'll have some very detailed, specific numbers to come. So, nevertheless, we do have a resolution that we prepared, and the language attached to that resolution, public safety services, is what potentially can be on the ballot. And we're sharing 1 mil with the cities. There will be an intergovernmental agreement. All that's pretty much in this resolution. So, I'll offer the resolution at this point. It's been moved and supported.
Commissioner Wayton,
Yes.
Commissioner Burgle,
Yes.
Commissioner Carl is excused, Commissioner Walters, Commissioner Reed.
Yes. And at this point, this is a big step, and for me personally, since coming on board, I was hoping that we wouldn't have to levy anything else, and, you know, in a perfect world, I don't know that we'd have to, but the world isn't perfect, and, you know, I witness every day, listening to my scanner, or going out on fires, or just driving down the road, the increase of calls and our traffic volume. Now, I did just visit Chicago, and I will tell you, I have a relative down there that we stayed with, and Chicago took the approach of public safety, and there's cops everywhere, and I mean everywhere, and thank goodness they were, because there was way more people traffic than I preferred. But it's a big step for all of us, and, you know, I'm confident that this is what we have to do without cutting public safety. And I guess it's up to everybody to tell us, you know, how important it is to them. And Lord, did you have numbers as to real generally, roughly what that would cost an average home? I think those general numbers, I don't have one. Because that's an important key to this.
Well, on an average, each township was different, so if you wanted to know by township based on your average
There's an average.
tax value, yeah, it's gonna be an average of $32 on the average taxable value.
So, roughly 32, and we was gonna try to tighten up those numbers a smidgen. You know,
How much does it generate?
40,000 for the city of Beaverton, 60,000 for the city of Iron.
And how much for the county?
There'd be a remainder of 830 and change, which the sheriff department itself is in the neighborhood of 1.3 million. So it don't even completely fund just the sheriff department, you know what I mean? So we're not asking for an exorbitant amount of money. I mean, this is 1 mil that we're sharing. So it's really up to the people of the community to let us know which direction they want us to go.
Do you get any of that sharing income from the state revenue sharing?
Did you say state revenue sharing?
Did anything happen with that?
They just put it back in place last year, 2012, reduced, of course, and then now you have to earn it. So,
You have to earn it?
yeah, that's the EVIT, Economic Vitality Incentive Program, and not having deficit elimination plans in on time jeopardizes that. So, we just all need to stay on the same team, same page.
That's what you get, real here.
Yeah, I've got a whole list of stuff here. Is there anything else on this? Because it is important. Is there any other comments from the board or the public? We'll do that right now.
I just want to say out loud that you guys realize in this very meeting, you voted to increase 3 revenues. One for your wells. The other revenue was for, there was another tax increase, the drains. And then the third one here now is for a millage increase. And you just had a young lady talk about how poor this community is. So you can go to a community that is poor and tell them you want more. And I'm going to tell you right now, your school systems are going to come out and ask for more money here in the next year or two. I, as a person in this community, want to know where it's going to end.
I understand, and, you know, it's a sign of the times, and that's what the community has to vote for, and that's why we have those rights, you know. With the drains, with respect to those, this board has zero choice as to what's going on with the drains, and
As do we as citizens.
Right. Bob can speak for himself. We do know that, and you guys know that, you know, we're working on some legislation for that. And you should know that. If you don't know, we are. We're looking at some of that. And I think it's important to all communities, not just ours. And the fact of the matter is, the Drain Commission is digging drains. That's what the Drain Commission is do. But maybe the process that is being done should be done a little bit different. So,
I need to know, you just made a statement, what do you anticipate the schools are gonna come to the county for?
The school are going to come to the citizens, the school districts, and ask for a millage increase. That's already in the language of the school boards.
and so there's multiple different things that we as citizens need to watch, and as some of it, you know, the state and federal government leaving our tax dollars alone here, let us have our own tax dollars and distribute those amongst ourselves and not send all our cash out to the state and feds for grants and different things. Right now, we feel like we have to compete for it, because if we're not competing for it, we're losing it to somebody else. And then there's a delicate balance as to, you know, how do our constituents feel about us just sitting back and letting the grant dollars slide by? Should we do that or shouldn't we? You know, I don't know, that's a good question for everybody, but, you know, we're trying to do the best we can and give what we can, try to get back. You know, this program that Karen was here for the Housing Commission is a relatively decent program. If you're making cash, then you're turning cash back to the feds. That makes sense, you know. If we did a little more of that, that's a great thing. And I've witnessed the people that really needed it. But, you know, it's tough. So we just all need to stay on the same page and talk together, and just like this.
Were you taking comments on this topic now, or do you want?
I don't want you to talk about it, but if you wanted to, go ahead.
I guess I'm concerned because the memo that was read, we really beat that up at our committee meeting. We gave structured ways to say things differently. None of that was taken, and that memo was still presented. That memo still says at the end of the day, 10 officers are going.
Well, it says now it's a little bit changed as public safety officials, but the one I have here.
That's what I'm
But-
saying,
but-
is that
right.
that memo was completely beat up by a committee that was put together to spearhead this millage. If that's the language that's gonna go out to the public,
Let me
I
try
guess
to,
I'm saying is, he needs to take direction. I mean, if you put a committee into place for a reason, he needs to take direction of that committee. He can't just decide on his own what he's going to do, because then it defeats the purpose of having a committee. And quite frankly, I don't want to attend 3 meetings a week to try to get this to go through if nothing that the committee's doing is going to happen.
I understand, and I feel our committee's strong, and I think we worked really well in the committee. I wasn't a fan of the wording of this memo, but again, it's his recommendation, and we can work through that.
But he's
with
one
the
person,
committee.
and he's not from Gladwin County. He is one person, and he should be taken direction by the board and by the committee, not by himself.
I agree with Laura.
I'm very
I did not
frustrated with
publicize
that.
it. Laura, I didn't publicize it
Thank
because
you.
of what you said.
Thank you.
I agree. In other words, there are lots of other options in different ways, and it is a case where we looked at every possible solution to solving the cash flow problem, budget problem. And I believe we reached the point where we have no other option available to us other than the reduction of personnel or increasing revenue or a combination of both. It's pretty black and white. And, but to put it, to say it like that, I don't agree with. So I haven't publicized it. I kept it to myself.
Our committee has came up with some language, and we will have more specific languages as to what it'll look like with and without the millage. And I think everybody needs to know very specifically what that's gonna be, and we will have that soon. All right, we have a few other things. The first and foremost, was you done, Laura?
I guess.
No, go ahead.
I'm done.
I think she's doing this to the shirt, you know?
Have we ever bounced the idea of selling the city park or that other park that's out there off of Pratt Lake Road?
We can't sell the park on Pratt Lake Road. That's why we leased it, and that's why we're doing what we're doing. It was given to the county, so for us to sell that, we can.
Okay.
And for it to be cost neutral to us, which it is now, that's why we're doing that. That's
Okay.
why CDEC Foundation's running it. They're putting a bunch of windows and logs in addition and all that.
City park?
City parks, the cities. That's their deal.
Okay.
We've sold and liquidated, we only have like one more parcel left, I think, Terry, correct me if I'm wrong, out off of Clendenning Road. There's some red pine out there that's just real close to being harvested, that's what the reason we cut that. We got rid of everything else that I know of over the last 6-8 years, different parcels around, we've sold off. The land bank acquires some different parcels here and there, tax foreclosures, that kind of stuff, and the land bank works on those. We auction those and spend that money off into, tax sale revenue lines or whatever. Yeah, there's, as far as large sums of land that we could liquidate and save the bank, no, nothing that we're aware of. So, but good point. Appreciate it. I would like to, before I forget, thank Paddle Grove with Gladman Tank for the donation of a piece of stainless steel plate steel for the jail. He didn't charge us for it, and it was a large piece to cover a big hole that EOC needed covered for something or other. But nevertheless, it took Rick a while to track it down, and they helped us out, and I appreciate that. Region 3 Homeland Security alternative person. I talked with Leo, and Leo, you may want to speak for this or not, but he's recommending Fred Shaver take that position. Currently, it's been Mark Schulden with the Road Commission. Mark's busy, tied up. We need somebody else. Fred's willing to do it.
After talking with the sheriff and Mike Brubaker at the last LPT meeting, Mike Brubaker has offered to step in and do that as he's been in the past.
Okay.
He would actually be better. I recommended Fred because Fred has more time, but I would recommend that Mike Brubaker be made a second to the vote.
Okay.
How about we reverse it, like Brubaker first and Brad second?
I'm number one. I was going to the meeting, but
After you.
yeah. If something happens where Mike doesn't want it, I mean, they only accept two, the primary vote and the alternate vote. So one of us would have to be there to vote for anything to do with this contract.
So, what's the board's desire? Mike Brubaker? Recommendation?
I would move that we have Mike Brubaker do the
Support.
It's been moved and supported. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Then I'll draft a letter and get it sent out to the region, naming him as the alternate.
Also, there is a request from our CERT team, the County Emergency Response Team, to become a nonprofit. I talked with the attorney, he's gone now. Technically, the county can collect those funds for the nonprofit if need be, and it can funnel through us. I don't know if Laura's familiar with that or not.
You better talk to the auditors and Christie, because under Gatsby, I would be adding any additional funds.
Okay.
Maybe Marlene would like to chime in on that, but that's.
You need to talk to the auditors and Christie.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, Neil was like indifferent, so I don't think it's urgent that we have an answer for you today. But the other question that we will need to discuss then, does the board have any issues if the CERT team goes out on their own to formulate a,
This is basically just for the donations that they receive, like they've received, that CERT van sitting out here. They get some, cash donations. We had a number that was an employee at, I believe it was Walmart, that, they donated, I think it was $200 every 6 months in his name to the CERT program. And they've just, basically, they've been holding it as like a petty cash, for expenses that come up for, if we get deployed out and they're out for any length of time, they've got money on hand to buy food, to feed themselves and things of that nature, gas for the van, batteries, for that van, they replaced those already out of that. And they were just kind of, you know, should we or shouldn't we? And we suggested, at one of the meetings that they probably should look into it, just to make it all, I mean, we got all the records, but just to keep it on the level that they should either be a nonprofit to handle that or,
this file from 501c3? The only issue, if they go out on their own, it technically kind of separates them from the county of Gladwin, and I don't know that there's an advantage or disadvantage on that. But if they're their own group, then they're their own group. And technically, there may be some MMRMA issues with volunteering if they're separate groups, so. Let me check into some legalities with that, and I'll get back to you.
okay.
Okay. Additionally, there's some ID badges being done, and Bob Fry and Leo are just encouraging that they be uniform, so the sheriff department has their sheriff department uniformity, and the courthouse has theirs. We don't have any customization beyond that for obvious safety reasons and people duplicating and different things like that, right?
And the fire departments have their own, you know, their own design, but they're all gonna be the same within the county.
Right. So just
That's the intent.
reassuring that the board's comfortable with that, we all agree, and we move on.
Thinking, department head scheduled that anybody that does not have an up-to-date badge needs to come in. Because there is no.
How about I just email them? That's not good.
The other day I had my meeting and, some of the Gladwin departments just about done, but there's some lacking yet. And then the other fire departments haven't done it yet. So we should,
So that's to be done with that.
You just get with the clerk, that's what I need to email the departments.
Yeah, if they're in place, and have the most recent badge, they takes 2 samples.
And at the next fire board meeting or fire chiefs meeting, I will mention to the chiefs that haven't come in yet, that they need to get their people on.
Okay, very good. And Leo, one other thing, I was heading to Chicago and Helen called and there was a situation with some oil loss up on School Road or something.
Yeah,
Maybe you could share that, that's done.
It wasn't oil, what it was, a crack sealing company, chip sealing, basically at 3 different locations, cleaned out their equipment and dumped it. Some of it was on the road, some of it was off the road. DQ was called. They assessed the situation and absolutely it needs to be cleaned up. The county road commission was involved obviously, and they were gonna oversee that portion of it and make sure that it got cleaned up. I haven't gotten the information back from the county yet, but I will within the next day or two on their insurance and what company it was, but they were told that absolutely has to be cleaned up. That was one spill that we had recently. The other one was a woman from Bloomfield Hills, house up here, out in Secord. She went to the marina, Lakeside Marina, Lakeshore Marina. They're on Lakeshore Drive, and was out of gas, put the nozzle in, and started pumping, fill up her Lincoln Continental, and then walked into the store and started rearranging and filing greeting cards for the owner. And after about 45 minutes, decided, I better go out and shut the pump off and back in and finish my shopping. Went out, she had pumped $398 worth of fuel into her car and out of her car, which in turn ran across the parking lot, down a small drain, and down the boat ramp and into the water. There was pretty much nothing that could be done for what was in the water by the time I got there. There was a sheen, but most of it was already gone from the river, from the immediate area of the river anyway. That all dissipated off the water over time, so there was actually no cleanup of the water, but the boat ramp, the ground around the pump itself, and everything leaving where the fuel went had to be cleaned up according to EMCOG, and they're still out there right now, in my knowledge. They were, when we were talking to Robin from DEQ on this chip sealing deal, he had mentioned to me that once they got into it, that there's been a spill, or there's a lot more there than what they had anticipated on, and that it had been there for decades, and they're making clean with all of it. So that's going to be an ongoing process until it all gets done.
So does the woman have to pay for all of that?
Well, she was ticketed by DEQ. It's a 15-year felony to begin with to walk away from the pump, and it was clearly marked. But they issued her a ticket. I don't know what the cost of that's going to be, but she paid for $60 worth of the gas because she said her car will only hold between 50 and 60, and she wasn't paying for the rest of it. Not. I'm sure there's going to be issues over that. That's like a drag away, in my opinion, but they'll have to work that out between the owner of the store and her insurance company. Or her insurance company, yeah. And I've got all of her information. Her insurance is going to be billed and for the cleanup that we done, that I spent out there.
Any other questions for Leo? I think covered all your stuff.
I still have some other stuff if I could.
All right.
The Homeland Security grant, Loudoun County was awarded for 2011 and 2012 under the Homeland Security Grant Program, $49,975.42. It was $30,576.10 for 11 and $19,399.32 for the 12 grant. The fiduciary for the region, which is Alcona County, won't front monies like they have, like Bay County did in the past, where we have, we get the grant, we put in our request for equipment or for whatever, that equipment was bought and then distributed out, and then Bay County waited for reimbursement from the state. State waited for the feds. Alcona County can't afford to do that for the 14 counties. So basically, we have to pay up front and submit that paperwork, cancel the check, what have you, And, there's a 30 to 60 day turnaround on getting the money back. Now that, and this just came down, within the last couple of weeks that, that everything has to be paid for upfront for our grant, from this point on. At the LPT meetings that we've been having, that committee took the grant money and worked out what the county needed, what the priorities were, and for lighting for the back lot over here at the health department was one of them. There's a concern there that the lights weren't working, wasn't bright enough, especially in the wintertime. It's dark when they get into work, it's dark when they get out of work. Police cameras, for the city police was another one. Repeater upgrade for central dispatch, I believe that was going out on sheriff's line. It was gonna go out on, I believe it was, Clement Township Tower, so that we have coverage to the north. And EMS, put in a request for some equipment, and then, upgrades to the EOC in the bottom of the jail. And that was for the 2011, and plus, for the 2011 was, which has already been taken out of it, but the conference down in Grand Rapids that the sheriff attended, that's already been, paid out of that. For the 2012, there were tough books, computers for the lead fire trucks out. One computer per department if they so desire, and maintenance on the command trailer, communications trailer. I know we've talked about that. There's a leak somewhere in the roof area. Maintenance would also include purchasing a new 800 megahertz radio for that unit, because when the water leaked in it this spring, right after I put the 800 megahertz radio back after it got rebanded, during Fair Week, we went to power it up, and there's nothing there, it won't power up, so the water did get into that. And batteries for that command trailer need to be replaced. Lock boxes for the schools was the other project. Basically what that is, if there's an incident at any one of the schools in the county, they go into a lockdown mode. The sheriff's department, depending on who shows up there first, have no way of getting inside the building until the key is brought. And I believe the keys are kept at the sheriff's department, but if there's somebody right there that can get in there immediately, they would have no access to it. So that was one of the other projects that we had talked about. Portable lighting for the CERT teams was the other one, and basically that's just those small generators that have a light on them. And then upgrades to the secondary EOC, which is out there on Shaw Road. To get that up and get it functional at this point, and try to work that along, move it along. So out of that, basically, the county, if it so wishes, for what the county is gonna receive out of it would be $16,029.32. City police is gonna fund their own upfront, EMS, the same thing, and the fire departments, as soon as we have the chiefs meeting, I'm gonna bring it up to them, and if they want those laptops in their trucks, then they're gonna have to put that money up front as well. And our portion out of that, like I said, would be $16,029.32. To move on, or to get, like, the upgrades, the maintenance, things of that nature.
You need a motion on that today?
As soon as possible, I guess. It doesn't necessarily have to be the day. I have to have the forms in that, I think by Wednesday, or tomorrow of this week. But if you decide that we can't fund it, our portions of it would just be dropped. And that money would then go to other counties.
Go to finance and vendor finance.
No, that's the problem.
And when's the due date?
I believe the actual hard date is in September, but I have to have my forms in that we intend to do these projects by tomorrow. I have to have all the forms in, and then if the county decides that we can't, then that money is to go back.
So the motion is for what? To allow the board to authorize you to conduct those projects and pay up front?
Yes. Yes, and then the county would be reimbursed 30 to 60 days after that after the bills are submitted to the fiduciary. They'll immediately send them to the state, and according to the fiduciary, it's a 30 to 60 day turnaround on the check coming back.
Your paperwork's due tomorrow, but technically, if we voted pending final review with finance and we voted on it in 2 weeks, you could stop your paperwork if you had to.
Yes.
So I'd entertain a motion that,
Just lay it on the table.
Rick, I'd entertain a motion that we tentatively sign this agreement and can you type that up and get it to finance so Terry and I can look at that? And that'll be 2 more weeks before we come here, but I think the financial coordinator one should look at it. I think we need to look at some of the maintenance stuff, I think. So, do you agree, Terry?
Yes.
All right, so that's my motion. Do I have support? It's been moved and supported. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion passes. So, you can submit your paperwork. Just type that up and send it, email it to me or something, and we'll review it at finance.
Okay.
Thanks, Leo. Any other questions for Leo? Okay, and then.
One more thing, Josh, I'm
Yep.
sorry. We also had a mass casualty exercise this past week that went very well. There were some minor technical issues that came to light that we're gonna work on, and we had, I believe it was, we had 11 people in the EOC, we had 10 CERT members volunteer, and then the hospital, EMS, were also down there. Health department was there, and Lieutenant Lisa Sperry, and then one evaluator from Bay County, I believe, came up and attended that. And for the most part, it went fairly well. Laura was there as the public information officer, getting people used to this new web EOC program, other than the old EP program for contacting the state. But everything is good, as far as I'm concerned. stuff and. I think that's it.
And finishing up, I guess I attended Hay Township. I think it went pretty well, and tobacco last night. And that was about a 25-minute meeting last night at tobacco. Fire department breaking ground in Beaverton tonight at 7. So Gladman Fire has drill tonight. I'll see if I can skip out of there and run down there, because that's pretty substantial. So they've been 15 years in that neighborhood trying to put a shovel in the ground down there. Finally it's happening, and it's a lot of it local efforts, so pretty fantastic. Anything else from the board?